Judge Eleanor Whitmore, 78, gripped the steering wheel of her Lincoln sedan. The throb of pain from her temple, a sharp reminder of the baton strike that had landed just moments before. Blood trickled down the side of her face, staining her collar. Through the fractured windshield, she watched Officer Brian Miller calmly radio dispatch, his posture casual, utterly unaware of who sat bloodied and handcuffed behind him. What began as a routine traffic stop in suburban Bakersfield had exploded into a brutal confrontation. But the broken glass and bruised skin were only the beginning. This moment would ignite a reckoning decades in the making, unraveling a web of systemic injustice within the Randall County Police Department. And none of them, not Miller, not his superiors, not even the mayor, had any idea the storm they had just summoned. Eleanor Whitmore wasn't just another elderly black woman in a beat-up sedan. She was the first black woman to ever serve on the Supreme Court of the United States. Her career stretched from the civil rights marches of the 1960s through landmark decisions from the federal bench. But none of her accolades had mattered the moment Officer Miller saw her dark skin behind the wheel. Earlier that day, Eleanor had visited the Oakwood Cemetery. She placed fresh roses on her late husband's grave, marking what would have been their 47th wedding anniversary. She had driven the same route home countless times. Her speed was within the limit. Her tags were current. She had obeyed every stop sign. Yet, the flashing red and blue lights in her rearview mirror stirred an old, familiar anxiety. She lowered her window, placed both hands on the wheel, and waited. Officer Miller, in mirrored sunglasses and gym-hardened muscles, approached with suspicion already etched on his face. "License and registration, Grandma," he barked. Eleanor offered both, then asked calmly, "May I know the reason for the stop, officer?" "You ran a stop sign," he snapped. "Don't play dumb." She hadn't. She knew it. But Miller's agitation escalated swiftly. When she refused to step out of the car without just cause, citing her arthritis and federal position, he laughed in disbelief. "Yeah, right. And I'm the president. Out now." The next minutes unfolded like a nightmare. He yanked her door open, declared he smelled marijuana there was none, and began searching her vehicle without consent. Her protests were firm, legal, and ignored. When she informed him her ID, identifying her as Justice Eleanor Whitmore, was in her purse, he laughed again. Nice fake. Impersonating a federal official now. Then came the handcuffs. Too tight. The rough pull on her arms. Her gasp breath. A bystander began recording. Resisting arrest. Miller shouted theatrically. Then he struck her temple with his baton. Blood flowed. Justice Eleanor Whitmore, Supreme Court Justice, was shoved into the back of a cruiser like a common criminal. At the Randall County Station, she was photographed, fingerprinted, denied medical care. She asked for her medication. They took it. She demanded to speak to her court liaison. They hung up the phone as it rang. Laughter followed her every request. "Thurgood Marshall over here thinks she's royalty," one joked. They mocked her name, her age, her dignity. But the tide began to shift when Officer Daniel Rodriguez, a rookie barely out of the academy, recognized her from courthouse photos. He smuggled her water, whispered apologies, and called his unclean clerk at the federal courthouse. "Help is coming," he whispered, and it did. The next morning, the station erupted in chaos. Phones rang off the hook. Television crews gathered outside. Captain David Russell stormed into the booking area and demanded her release. Miller, now pale and trembling, was suspended on the spot. Russell tried to downplay the incident. A misunderstanding, he claimed. Eleanor stood, bruised but proud. "Is it standard procedure to strike elderly women and deny them medical care, Captain? Or do you reserve that for black citizens only?" The camera crews caught every word. She was offered hush money. Declined. She demanded full records be preserved. Surveillance. Body cams. Station logs. Her voice, once calm, now carried the weight of generations. Back home, supported by her former clerk Michael Chun, Eleanor turned her pain into purpose. Her dining room became a legal war room. She tracked prior complaints against Miller, 3 excessive force reports buried by Judge William Harrison, a close friend of the mayor. They unearthed a pattern. Black drivers disproportionately stopped, searched, arrested. Minor violations escalated. Reports disappeared. NDAs silenced victims. And all roads led to the mayor's office, the private prison company Clearwater Corrections, and lucrative contracts tied to incarceration rates. With the help of whistleblowers, Rodriguez, included Eleanor, built her case. But the retaliation intensified. Michael was assaulted. Eleanor's home vandalized. Power outages. Email hacks. Anonymous threats. Still, she pressed on. Rodriguez leaked recordings. Meetings where quotas were set. Minority neighborhoods targeted. Arrests incentivized. Promotions tied to citations. Eleanor filed a sweeping civil rights and RICO lawsuit, not just against Miller, but the entire system. Mayor Jackson, Judge Harrison, Clearwater Corrections. The department tried to settle. She refused. When the case was certified as a class action, hundreds of black residents came forward. Stories mirrored her own. Humiliation, violence, silence. In court, Eleanor testified. So did a retired teacher, a teenage honor student, a business owner, all black, all victims. Body cam footage recovered by journalists showed Miller striking her, mocking her identity. Officer Rodriguez's recordings revealed attempts to destroy evidence. The jury returned a swift verdict, guilty on all counts. $175 million in damages. Structural reforms mandated. Civilian oversight. Elimination of quotas. Termination of Clearwater's contract. The mayor resigned in disgrace. The judge disbarred. Miller imprisoned. Rodriguez became a national speaker on ethical policing. But the fight wasn't over. The department appealed. The case reached the Supreme Court. Eleanor recused herself. Her colleagues voted 71 to uphold the ruling. Chief Justice Parker's majority opinion was clear. Systemic violations require systemic remedies. Eleanor returned to Bakersfield years later. The police force had changed. Stops decreased. Racial profiling vanished. A young black woman, pulled over for a taillight, was treated with respect. Eleanor visited her husband's grave. "We move the needle," she whispered. Her story, one of suffering, resolve, and reform, became law school curriculum. She founded the Whitmore Justice Foundation, offering legal aid to victims of police abuse. When asked if it had been worth it, she never hesitated. Justice isn't comfortable. It's necessary, and always worth the fight. The baton that drew blood had sparked a national fire. Eleanor Whitmore, once silenced in a cell, had forced America to listen and change.